onto my computer. All right, so we are recording. It's Wednesday, August 15, Independence Day here in India, 2018, and we are having a follow-up meeting on our storytelling therapy course, which ended a couple of months ago. In a few moments, we're going to discuss one story of a client. But before we do, I just want to say a couple words about healing stories, which can also be called inspirational stories or guiding stories, or perhaps integrational stories. Not just inspirational, but integrational. Because I'm finding, not just in this course, but I also am training other people in storytelling therapy, and especially here in Chennai, there's a one-year course in all of the different expressive therapies. So I teach the module on storytelling therapy, and so the 15 participants are each one, together with a client, has made up a healing story. But what I'm finding is that many of these stories are simply happily ever after stories. You know, they identify a challenge that the client has, and at least with this course in Chennai, usually it has been the therapist who makes up the story and gives it to the client. And although I always feel it's best if the client takes an active role in composing the story. But these stories that the therapists are making for the clients, most of them are simple, happily ever after, where like if the client is having some difficulty in her life, she didn't get into the college she wanted, or she didn't get into the department that she wanted. In the story, the alter ego that's a metaphor for the client works very hard, and after some time succeeds and lives happily ever after. And so this is given to the client as a healing story. So my feeling is that something's a little missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it because you know, I have been trained in the field of folklore. One of the things that we're trained is that a story is a model for the future, as well as a model of the past. It's a model for the future. So it's good to give people positive models, but it doesn't seem to be quite enough to give a story that just has a character who tries very hard. It's basically saying to the client, just try harder. You know, use more willpower. And, you know, that's not a very deep approach. So I'd like your thoughts about it. Still, what I think I'm looking for is stories that are also integrational, that help the client integrate their experience. And the best example that I've come across is that when I've mentioned to you about the moon rabbit, right? Where the client's mother had either she'd passed away or she was not available to the client, and so to sort of compensate in the healing story, which the client herself composed, she is approached by senior women who are healers. And they invite the young woman to come with them. So these healers are sort of substitutes for the mother. And also the rabbit figure is in there because as a young girl, the client had a rabbit pet who had died, and the young girl had buried the rabbit. And so now these women healers who come, they have jewelry and a ring with the insignia of a rabbit. They are of the rabbit tribe. And they look up at the moon and they see the rabbit on the moon. So it's like almost like the rabbit is a goddess. She permeates nature. So that struck me as a story that would really give comfort and maybe facilitate healing to this client who so missed her mother. That this tribe of healers and the rabbit spirit, in a simple-minded way, I'm saying, was a substitute for the mother. But to me, that is a story that's very different from just saying, work hard, try hard, and you'll succeed. So does anyone have any thoughts, responses to what I'm saying about the difference between a simple, straightforward, happy story that is presented to a client as an inspirational model, as opposed to a story that somehow more brings together different aspects of experience? Any thoughts?
I have two ideas, maybe. One thing is the main character can be vulnerable, have some weakness, not only forced to be stronger. One thing is a character that is okay to be vulnerable, or maybe thanks to wounding, he has some other good things, like the mouse that heard a sound all the time, and everybody. I'll send you the story if you want. Everybody thought she's crazy, but she wanted to hear where she wanted to go, where the voice comes from, and then she goes until the sun and transform and all good things. So maybe one thing is the weakness of the character, accept it, and maybe other thing is you don't have to count only to yourself. You have gifts from others. All the stories where all the animals give something. There is also a story from Northern Europe where Poor Père and Askeladd. I don't know if you know that story. A lot of people give the child something, and he succeeds because of the others. He's not only himself, stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's accept the weakness and accept the help of others.
Okay, good.
If I may add to what Crystal was saying, and I do believe, Eric, that as long as there is, we all as human beings, I believe that I would connect with a story which has resonance with me. And I know that life has got ups and downs. It's not always a sweet ride of everything falling in place and then running there. So when I hear about the struggle, when I hear about how things have been different and how people have overcome that, or how therapies actually work in actually getting through those difficult times and coming out beautifully, that's when I connect with the reality of it. And I do accept that, oh, yes, the story has worked there. It can work for me too. This model has worked and it will work for me too.
So you're saying that sometimes a good story will have downs as well as ups.
Yeah.
Not just ups.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm thinking of is situations where the client is in a down point in her life. She's depressed or such, and so then the therapist presents this story which takes a character who's down, but then brings the fictional character up and says happily ever after because she worked hard. But you're saying the story itself should involve ups and downs and not just the upward curve.
So if I may just add this. So yesterday, while driving down, I was hearing to a podcast, and a very beautiful story was said there about a man who wanted to kill himself. He was frustrated and with his life. He just he didn't have any idea what's going on. He was hitting a low, depressed. So he was standing on one of the Hudson River, if I remember, and he wanted to jump off and kill himself. Mm-hmm. But to kill himself, he needed the power and the guts to actually throw himself down. And he was contemplating how to do that. As he was standing there and thinking of taking that leap to kill himself, he sees the truck coming on the other direction. And in the truck, there was this driver who was whistling a beautiful tune and driving in his own oblivion of what was happening around. But he was beautifully driving, whistling around and humming that music. So as the driver passed through, unaware that there is a man standing on the bridge trying to jump, he happily keeps whistling and singing a happy tune and moves off. This man stands there, hears the music, and just was about to leap. He holds him back and says, hey, does life give a different perspective? Have I looked at all the options? If this man can be happy and whistle around, can I not find something that I can whistle about? And he steps back. So the story was that when we are down, we never know where the energy could come from and where we could pick it up. Just be open, just be aware. And it was a beautiful story. And as you said, it was depressing that the man wanted to jump, but at the same time, there was a beautiful thing about somebody just going past, whistling and humming their own tune in their own world. But it made an impact to this person. I don't know where my inspiration can come from. So that's where I was connecting with something which is sad, but there is something which is very beautiful also about life.
Mm-hmm. Eric, can I add something to this? The question that you are directing is it always okay to give a happy ending to a situation, or is it okay to present thing as it is? And is that isn't what you're saying?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I completely agree with what Sid says. Like, the reason why somebody wants to come to you is because they are looking at some sort of a answer. I wouldn't say solution, but for answers. But so I personally feel that why the story should represent not a happy ending, but there should be a sort of hope on the way, like in his case, the music, and because like I remember talking in the same forum that I could not find an ending to my story, and I didn't know how to end the story. And then we were just breaking off at that time, and I said I'll get back, I'll dwell for 1 month. So I kind of thought about this, because see, how do you end something when there is no end to it? It's coming out beautifully, but how do I end it? At that time, then that is when I actually understood that it doesn't need to be an end. It's just a kind of a hope, and you, the way that I present the story might may give a hope. I may think that it gives a hope in a way, but the person who's reading it may interpret it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what the approach should aim to be. We shouldn't care about how we are going to end it. We start, the only idea while framing it is that let it have a sort of balance, that there is a hope. Is I think that's what it is.
And maybe several endings are possible.
Yes, exactly. Interpretations can be many, but let it not all be negative. That's what I'm trying to say.
You can have a writer end very negative. If you can also write a very positive ending, and you can propose both, and you can discuss, and the client can write himself.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Go with the negative. Go for the negative. Okay, then it's done. Then we can maybe try something positive. Not push anything.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yes, that's very nice.
Sid, were you going to say something?
Yeah, so also to add on to what we have been talking about, it's a beautiful perspective that Crystal and Smita did put forward. Just to add on is that what I think as a solution for me from a particular story could be a completely different solution that would come up from the person to whom I'm sharing the story with. So it's just to live it at a positive high, maybe, to say that, okay, now let's talk about where does it lead to?
Can I add something about depression?
Yes.
Yes.
Lavanya, I think there's a little traffic noise. Maybe if you'd mute yourself for a minute. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Christelle.
Yeah, somebody that is real depressed is like something. It's like something is broken inside, and you can't tell somebody make an effort, try it harder,
Yes.
make effort. You can't. You know, it's somebody depressed. It's already too hard just to wake up in the morning and take a shower and put on the clothes. Just so hard, you know, because the motivation, it's very deep. It's not something you can control. So it's that profound motivation that is momently at the stop point. You can't, and there's enough auto reproach. You don't have to add some harder, try more. But depression has to be listened, and as you said, you will touch some hope, something pleasant, something in you. That takes time. And there is also a lot of negativity and destructivity in the depression. Or hetero-aggressivity. And if not in the stories, where can it express? That destructivity, negativity should be allowed to express in the stories, because you don't hurt anybody in the story. You don't want it to be real, like real aggressivity, like anorexia, suicide. So you wanted to welcome it in a story. So I think in a phase of the depression, if one needs to be, character will be dead and will be all the struggles and all the destructivity, that should be okay, you know. It's like in art therapy, you allowed somebody to put all black, black, black on the paper, and then you will find the colors again. But if you don't allow the aggressivity to express in a story, then when?
I'm thinking if I had a client who was depressed, I would suggest let's personify the depression and say, okay, depression, hello, how are you? And of course, depression would say, I'm depressed. But then you could ask depression, okay, what's going on? Why are you depressed? Tell me about yourself. That might lead to an interesting discussion. Go ahead, Sid.
I would have to leave. That's what I just wanted to
Oh
mention.
my gosh. Yeah, and we're going overtime. We've gone an hour and a half, but we have to go another maybe 20 minutes for those who can. Sid, we're recording now, so don't worry. So shall we go on to the bear story? With Smita? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Sid. We'll all be in touch by email.
Sure, we'll do.
Okay. So now, Smita, I think most of us have read what you've sent, but why don't you just review for a few minutes the client's life story? Of course, you're not giving her name, but just give a very quick review of her life situation and the healing story. Did you make it up or did she make it up?
It was a combined effort.
Wonderful. Okay, so just give us a little review of this case study of her situation and the story.
Okay. Let me go through first what is already sent, and then let me give you tidbits of what I said that I would want to discuss over conference. So the first thing was that the first session went on for a very long time, and it was, as Lavanya said, it went on for about an hour and a half. And after that, I kind of put the life story together, and then I went back to her and I spoke again. Now, then in the whole process, she was the first person that I spoke to for talk therapy, and it was she mutually agreed, because again, only to explore and to understand this whole process, she was very keen to understand how this works, and so she said, okay, I'm in. So there was no healing that was required. There was no in the start there was nothing. It was, everything was good about it, and she's a very successful person, she's very happy. So there's no healing as such that had to be done by me or by the story that was going to be coming out of this meeting. So after this, the second meeting is when we discussed about again. We went back and I said, okay, now tell me, I've presented your life story. And then she was like, yeah, Smita, it's okay. But, this is, maybe I wouldn't put this way and I wouldn't put it that way. And then I would want you to only see if the facts were right. And, it's not about how the way you or I put it, it's about the facts. And then she said, okay, the facts you've gotten all right, and it's all fine. And then in the second meeting, I said, okay, so what is it that you would want to explore about yourself? And that is when she started saying that, there's so much of dissatisfaction. I don't know where, where my life is going. I mean, my kids are in a world where people are, there are so many different perceptions. And how do I explain to my children that you have to be, good and bad, and it's okay to be recluse at times, but you should be reserved at times. I mean, how do I protect my children? And it's always on top of my head. And and she went talking so much about it. And that's when it struck me that, like, hey, so there's something here, something that maybe I can address, or maybe we can talk more. And when that happened, we spoke more about it. And she was on and on talking only about how she was the parts of aspects of Gita, the Bhagavad Gita. And she says that even in Gita, Krishna says that you should, the way the life is to be led. And how do I tell my children? They are so modernized in their thinking. How do I instill into them? So she went on and on about it. So then after this, I went back and did some research, which I had put it up as the understanding of Krishna in her head, and about how it is really interpreted, how he is related as the very user friendly God, and he's flawed, and he's okay. I mean, he, even when he does mistakes, so in like in Indian this thing, he's somebody that every woman would easily connect with. And so at that point of time, I realized okay, hey, there is something that we can work on. And it so happened, which is not there in the document, it so happened that I somehow I accidentally spoke to her husband. And it was just a 2-minute interaction with him. And he said she's constantly complaining about everything around her. And she constantly feels that everything around her is, it's not up to the mark for her kids and all that. So that all this put together, and then during our third meeting, which so the interaction with the husband was just for 2 minutes, and this is what he said. And then after that, in the third meeting, when we got together, we had discussed the metaphor in the second meeting. And she was very, and in the second meeting, she said, Smita, there should be no ending to my story. Then I said, okay, let's see where it goes. And that's when we had the conference, that meeting. And then I said, I don't know how to end my story. And then after that, the third meeting happened. And after the third meeting is when I realized that there is a lot of input that she and I can come up together. And then we started drafting the story. And it was a beautiful discovery, because she, at the end of it, she says, like, I don't know how I discovered so many things. Although she went with Bear, there were so many people she wanted to bring into this story. So that to bring in the tree, the bird, the caterpillar. So when she put all this together, I just prompted her to, make it in a jungle setting. And gave her that, okay, this is what it is. And the idea of light in the basket, though funny, it just it so happens that she kept talking about light. There's this light, there is this knowledge that she kept saying the source. And she kept saying that I need to give the source, there should be a source. So that is when I created it into something like a light. And then we worked together in the story, and the aspects came into being. So the ending as such was done together only, and it's not an ending as the story as you might have seen. It's not an ending because the mother bear wanted to get all the light for her kids and stuff, but it didn't happen that way. And all she could do is she could just show them the path, for self discovery. So that's how it ended, and so she was very happy with it, and so yeah, that's how it ended.
So the primary action in this story, as I remember it, is that the mother bear decides to go off on a journey to find light because
Yeah.
they're living in the dark. So
Yeah.
that light is a metaphor for understanding, wisdom,
Yes.
the teachings of Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
So she did the necessary to help herself and help her family by going off on this journey and temporarily putting aside her responsibilities as a mother, as a wife. She went off as a spiritual seeker or as a researcher, which ended up benefiting herself and her family when she came back.
Yes. Yes. That's the whole the problem or the setback for me was in the beginning itself, because first I needed to identify which direction should I take it, and then when I did identify, it was about it was about my client. She's in a very happy setting, but there's always a dissatisfaction. Why? So it's like you're questioning the need for something even in your well-being. So that is what intrigued me, and I kind of did this. So I would in fact like more comments on how it is shaped and the presentation. That would be really helpful.
Okay, Lavanya, Christelle. Lavanya, there's some kind of noise in the background. Any idea what it is from your side?
No,
Okay,
I have.
So go ahead. Are you muted, or can I think Christelle and Lavanya, unmute yourselves and go ahead. Give some feedback or ask some questions to Smita.
Yeah. So I really like the way that she has taken it forward.
Lavanya's image has gotten a little darker and she's frozen, but she liked the way you've taken it forward. Smita, I want to ask, did your client in real life, did she seem to feel a conflict between her responsibilities as a mother and wife as opposed to her need for to do research and her spiritual journey? Was that
Yes. Yes.
She did feel a conflict there.
Yes. Yes. She often she said that the Gita is going to be the way for me. That I think she says I'm holding on to it. This is exactly her expression. I'm holding on to it because I know that's going to give me some answers. Exactly, these are her words, and I think I have quoted this in her life story.
But
At the beginning, sorry.
Did she have a sense that it was at least temporarily taking her away from her husband and children?
Yes and no, because she is also a hands-on mom for 2 kids, and she is also fulfilling her responsibilities, but she's also socially very active.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of she didn't make any statement saying that, but I think, believing what she said, I think that she's quite balanced about her current position, both sides.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Christelle. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, I interrupted. I was thinking in the beginning if she would like to write a story for her children. Because she maybe want to bring the light to the children, as if only one people could bring everything, like a mother who wants to give everything, but everything is not possible. It's even scary.
Exactly.
Somebody who wants to be everything for somebody else, it's a bit
Exactly.
scary.
No, she's not into. She's no story, and her is no. I did ask her. I said, have you, because in her she conducts Gita classes, and then I kept asking her, are you into making stories of what concepts, your value education that you impart? So no, not, she's not inclined towards that. And but well, she did say that when she read the story, she did say that I should. And they said, Mama, you're just a bear, Mama bear. So that was kind of reassuring. But the spark in the whole thing was the 2-minute conversation, with this husband of hers, and he was like, she's always dissatisfied with everything around her. It was his expression, and that's when I realized there is a need, even in so much of some sort of a need of a seeker. Being a seeker is what, that's like what Eric said. Maybe that's what she is.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's,
Go ahead.
now a seeker is never finding in a way. Seeker keeps
Wanting more. Yeah.
But the story also makes it clear that her husband and the children and other people in her home environment, they also have the option of going off to the mountain on their own.
Yes.
And if they want the full experience, they have to go, because the little bit of light that she brings home in her basket, it's not
sufficient.
It's not very much.
Yes.
But at
So
least
this is where I came in. This is where I came in, Eric, because as I told you, she was like, don't give an ending. This was her expression. She said, don't give an ending. I don't want an ending. I just need the source. I just need to tell my kids to how to live a proper life. So I was very confused, Eric, how to give an ending to the story. How do I bring this out? But it was just a spark, and I said, okay, it's no ending. Like, it's exactly what you discussed. This is no ending, but there can be something, you know. So of course, the finishing of it was done by me, but the characters, and she wanted to bring so many people. There's a second client I'm also talking to, and she is having a trauma. She's got brain cancer. She's a dear friend of mine. Then we kind of drifted apart, and now again we are together. With her, the experience is very different. It's different. But with the story that I made, the Mama Bear story, the client with the story was extremely different with her. I mean, the experiences are great. I don't know how to express it in words right now. Maybe I can write out a story, but the experience was very different. So it's very draggy with the present client. She's going around the same thing, and she's having a pathos. But with this Mama Bear story, I was totally clueless, and I did a lot of research. I did read a lot of stories, and then that's when I said, okay, this is the way.
And maybe her children will lead their lives not the way she thought.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's just a choice. So there is hope.
Do you think she'll show this story to her children or tell it to her children?
Oh. She did. That's exactly what I said. She did. And the daughter, she said, Auntie, this is exactly my mom. This is so, Mama. My mama is the Mama Bear. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure.
You told, sorry.
Go ahead.
You told she wants a story to tell their children how to live their lives.
Yes. That's she didn't want to.
I hope they will lead another life, maybe other than she thought.
Probably, but
from teenage time.
She didn't express that she wanted a story, but she wanted a scenario where she could give a better life to her kids.
I'm guessing that.
Her?
Go ahead.
Better than her life? What's a better life? Better than what? Better than hers?
That was exactly what the setback was for me, because it is something it was so abstract that I could not figure out with, and that's why I mentioned about these second and third meeting was was where the ones which were actually fruitful, and I it just struck a chord, and I said, okay, hey, there is something that I can address. The thirst, there is a need that needs to be addressed.
I'm guessing that the story was interesting and educational for her children, because many times children are not aware that a parent has a life outside the family, you know, outside being a mother, outside being a wife, even that a parent has an intellectual life, a professional life, a spiritual life that is other than the family, and
now yeah, Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt, but then I just have to add this. This is the reason we brought in the mouse and the caterpillar, the tree, is like she made a few statements saying that there are so many people in the society, there are such low level people, and there are people who are bisexual. How do I explain it to my kids? And that's when I brought in, like, the mouse, the tree, and the free bird, and the caterpillar, and it was quite a task to understand this and put it in the forest setting, but I think she got it. The best part was she got it, that I was addressing all her problems with the surroundings that she felt, and that was what I felt very happy about.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So
yeah, they will ask their questions.
Mm-hmm.
Can't answer all the questions in advance before they are asked.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Kristen.
No, she wants to explain the children that they are homosexual people, bisexual people.
No, she wants to explain to her kids that the world is full of this. I mean, it's not explained per se. It's just how to live in a cohesive way, accepting everything but still making your right choices. I think that's what it is about.
Thank you.
Lavanya, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Power fluctuation.
That's okay. You were about to say something about about the.
I'll quickly say before the power goes off again.
Yes, go ahead. And then we're gonna complete the conversation in just a couple of minutes. So please.
So I really like the way that she had put in a lot of metaphors into the story. It's so beautifully done, Smita. I should definitely congratulate you for that. And I feel that it's beautifully taken. I mean, the Sunbird story is something that I know, but how she had tried to connect it to the client's story is something, it's remarkable. So I really loved how she had made the caterpillars and the mouse and all come into picture, and especially when somebody is leading a spiritual path, there is always a guru that somebody looks up into.
Yes.
And I can easily see that she has connected every part of V's life to a guru, and every guru that she had seen has become an animal which has helped the bear in the process.
Yes.
And I really loved the fact that the caterpillar had become butterflies. I mean, when she's coming back and she's seeing, she's looking for the caterpillars, but then there is the butterfly. And I was wondering as I was reading through the story, okay, so she's given off all the light and there's only little light. What is she going to tell the children? I was very curious. And that is when I saw that the path itself is illuminated. So that was fantastic. So I thought that really made complete sense, and I'm sure that it would have given a great sense of relief to V as well, because I think she would now be really satisfied that yes, this is what I can give to my children, and what they choose is going to be completely their choice. And if they choose to go in this path, then there is always a light that can lead them to whatever the bigger light. So it was amazing. So I really liked the metaphors that had come in into picture, and very beautifully done. I'm so inspired now to go and
not just her children, because she gives lessons about Bhagavad Gita to other children and other maybe adults.
Yeah.
So this case study involves the actual life of the client, and very much involves the story of Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, which is, you can call it epic or mythology. And then in addition, it includes this story about the bear. So it's three different levels of reality coming together.
Yeah, and another thing that I really liked is how she has researched about the bear and trying to find an Indian context to what the bear meant.
Yes,
so that's something very powerful. Yeah. So how a person can, maybe we herself didn't know about that when she was mentioning the bear, but after probably when she's going to read what you have researched about the bear, it would give her various new perspectives to look about life.
Yes, and interestingly, Lavanya, the information about how I related the bear to the Indianness was from a beautiful story by Sudha Murthy.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, I think I read so many that I think it was from the book The Day I Stopped Drinking Milk.
Yeah, I have it with me. I was just looking behind here.
Yeah, so I think it's from that, and I think maybe I'm wrong. I'll research and I'll let you know. But it was from there that gave me a.
Well, I think bears also play an important part in the story of Ram, don't they? When Ram is going to Sri Lanka on the way, don't they interact with bears a good deal?
No, Eric, I'm not aware of that.
Where
there are Vanaras only, no? Sugriva and all the Vanaras, not bears.
Okay,
I'm not quite sure, Eric. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I'll research that, yeah.
Okay.
So, but Eric, one good thing I would want to share with you is because of your interest in DMT, is that I have been collecting a lot of stories after our sessions, and it has been such a beautiful experience to make my own story bank. And now we are developing something using stories and value education to bring in something called dance in education. And it's a very good experience, and I am working towards it with a few people right now. And so this story therapy courses really helped me that way. So I have an edge above the story, this thing in my team, and I feel very proud about it. So maybe I would share that with you.
Okay, wonderful. Please do. Okay, I'm just doing a quick look about bears and Ramayana, and there's a character called Jambavanta.
Jambavan. Ah, yeah, yes.
The king of bears.
Yes.
But okay, anyway. So Lavanya has gone again, and so I think the three of us should end the conversation. But the conversation does not really end, because we'll continue by email, and we'll all stay in touch. But we've made this recording for the people who could not be here, and I hope they enjoy listening to it. So do either of you want to say any final words before we stop the recording?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you both. Good. So here, first we'll stop the recording, then we'll speak again just for a moment. We'll continue speaking for a moment. Okay.